Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the course. Now we're going to get into lead generation, and this is the lead generator operating system. Here's what we're going to cover. We're going to cover the entire lead generator operating system course. We're going to talk about all the different marketing channels from inbound, outbound, and free. And then we're going to talk about cash conversion cycles, what they are, why they're important, and how to use them in your planning when you're picking a marketing channel. Next, we're going to talk about the levels of cold calling because I know most investors start off with cold calling and generating your own lists and ultimately how to optimize all this. Warning, this is the most important video of the entire course. If you haven't caught on, watch the entire video. Don't skip it and don't fast forward. You can always watch this video in 2 times speed if you're in a hurry, like myself. So please, please, please keep watching this to the end. All right, let's get into the operating system. Okay, now we're in the lead generation operating system. Systemize your marketing. Most wholesalers are constantly chasing deal to deal to deal, and they're not knowing when the next one's coming. And most likely it's because you don't have a system for picking your marketing system. And that's absolutely okay. I used to be that way, and that's probably what you guys are going through, and that's why you're watching this course. Number two, this is what you're probably doing. You're probably pulling batch data and you're cold calling for hours on end. You're probably pulling 20 and 30,000 records at a time from, some of our famous software platforms. And then you're going to pay thousands of dollars to skip trace those records off those software. Then you're probably going to solopreneur and call these leads for hours and hours and get cursed out on the phone and maybe get one or two people interested in actually selling their property. We're going to go really in depth of each lead type, why you should do something, and then how to pick one that works for your business, not just the marketing channel that a guru or a coach or influencer on social media tells you that you should do. Number four, we're going to optimize your marketing system, the best system and list to call and to maximize your efforts. Because a lot of you guys are probably like me, have a full-time W-2 and you cannot call for 6 to 8 hours a day. So for me, when I first started, I was calling 2 hours a day after my W-2. All right, now we're going to go into some marketing channels. So we're going to start off with the free stuff. MLS outreach. Agents are a extremely free and effective marketing channel. I do recommend if you guys are not doing this, you might as well throw a little bit in there. Let's say you cold call maybe 4 hours a week to sellers, maybe add an hour a week instead. So now you're calling sellers for 3 hours and now you're calling agents for 1 hour. The key to this is not to be that type of person that is just asking for pocket listings, right? There's probably hundreds of agents that are dealing with, random wholesale investors that are telling them, hey, send me your pocket listings. That is not effective, okay? When you reach out to agents, build value, provide value, build a real relationship. You can tell them, hey, I deal with sellers almost every single day. I'm a direct to seller investor. A lot of sellers sometimes want retail value, and I'm not a real estate agent, so I would love to give you some business. That 20% of referral fee can actually help you pay for marketing channels, so you're making some money instead of completely losing that deal. In return, if you think about it, if you're giving an agent business, free listings, for an agent, a listing is like king, right? Like everybody wants listing referrals, all that stuff. Now, once you build that relationship, now you can tell that agent, hey, if you got any like crappy deals that you think is going to be a problem selling in the market, I would love to be the one on the first bill to take a look at it, right? So that's how you get those pocket listings. Next, wholesale outreach. Pretty simple. Don't want to deep dive too much. If you're a fix and flipper, definitely reach out to wholesalers, build that free outreach. And then also, if you're good at a skill, like if you're good at selling deals, dispo, or you're like me, I prefer acquisitions and doing the sales portion, you can always look at wholesale deals, provide feedback, and if it's constructive feedback, maybe you guys can JV it and you can help renegotiate that deal. Cool. So county and courthouse data. I'm going to go a little more in depth on this in the later slides because this is actually the main list that my business runs on. I think about 80 to 90% of my deals comes from this list. You can do this absolutely for free. Like county courthouse data, an example of this is foreclosures, right? So everybody talks about foreclosures. You can actually look this up on most county websites. You could pull the actual property and the seller. All you have to do is skip trace them. And then also you can actually go into the courthouse and talk to the county clerks and kind of build that relationship down there where they can provide you data. Now, this is public data. However, a lot of the clerks don't want to openly give you this list because They don't want thousands of people soliciting the same sellers over and over again. So you got to build that relationship, but you can get this data absolutely for free. All right, we're gonna talk about outbound marketing. What is outbound marketing? I think the best way to explain this is marketing that disrupts the seller's life, right? Getting a phone call, getting a text message, getting a door knock, right? So if you're a door knocker, that is actually outbound marketing. You are disrupting that seller's day. They could be eating dinner, they could be hanging out with their family. You are disrupting their day, right? And these are different lead marketing channels. Obviously, there's cold calling, which is probably what you guys are most likely doing, which is absolutely fine. I think you can absolutely still crush with cold calling. And I think cold calling will come back even bigger as people are cracking down on SMS and all that stuff. So, speaking of SMS, SMS is text campaigns. Me personally, we do not do any SMS campaigns on my business anymore due to like the crackdowns of the FTC and SEC. You don't want to just put yourself at risk, but do what you can handle, right? If you want to do SMS campaigns, absolutely do it. We've just completely cut that out. It's just too risky for us. Door knocking is outbound marketing. So if you're pulling courthouse county record data like foreclosures, most likely a lot of these sellers don't pick up the phone. And as you can see, a lot of coaching programs also promote door knocking because it is effective, right? People are most likely not going to yell at you when you're face to face, and then you can actually try to provide value live right there on the spot. Email is also outbound marketing. We actually love email marketing. This is our favorite channel now because for us, everything is automated. And I can kind of show you guys later in the slides how we automate all our things for emails. Makes things a lot easier. And it's literally direct mail, but virtual. Cool. Now we're doing inbound marketing. Inbound marketing is something where you have a seller looking at an ad, or maybe they get direct mail and then they're calling you, right? They are calling you to sell their house. So obviously, in the large scheme of things, inbound marketing is probably more effective in terms of conversions, but there's a risk, right? It is very, very expensive to be effective in inbound marketing. So here's the examples. Pay per lead. If you guys haven't heard of pay per lead, I'm not going to talk about specific companies on this Zoom here on this recording because I don't want to get in trouble. But pay per lead is when you pay a company money every single lead. So I think one of the companies I was using got up to $400 per lead. So, it's a lot of money, but once you pay for that lead comes into the mailbox, you call that seller and you try to close the deal. The reasons why I don't recommend PPL, there is going to be a crackdown later this month, and PPL companies are going to be in a world of hurt. The reason why is because the only way to have an effective PPL is if it's coming directly from the homeowner. The problem with pay per lead companies is they're marketing to a seller and then they're selling you that lead for you to call. So that is not directly to the seller, right? PPC, these are the ads like Facebook, Google, YouTube ads. This is probably when you hit like the highest level of wholesaling or, marketing, PPC is probably the most effective because the seller is getting an ad and they're directly calling or filling out your company's website. PPC is extremely expensive. That's why it's so good because you're basically paying for ad space. And depending on your market, like if you're in a very, very competitive market, you need to spend way more money to be higher ranking on Google, right? Does that make sense? So this is like probably one of the most expensive lead sources, but very effective when you have that revenue. Direct mail, right? You send out mailers, they read the mailer and they look at the phone number and they call you back. So that is an inbound marketing channel as well. We still work with direct mail, but we're starting to tick that down. And I'm going to talk about that later in the slides, why we aren't doing as much as this anymore. Advertisements on TV and radio, self-explanatory, right? In combination with direct mail, they might have seen your direct mail and then they see you on TV. They're more likely to call you because you seem like a more reputable source. All right, we're going to talk about cash conversion cycles. So, cash conversion cycles, a lot of people want to look at costs versus return. Everyone's focusing on how much of that marketing costs, but no one thinks about the ROI or the returns. So, what is a cash conversion cycle? The amount of time it takes on average to see a return once you spend money on that marketing channel. So, if you start learning what the different cash conversion cycles for each marketing source is, we're going to do a deep dive on direct mail. But basically, if I spend $10 today and the cash conversion cycle is 3 months, On average, I won't see a return on that $10 I spent until 3 months later, right? And I'm going to show you a graph of why, how this cycle works, right? So budget, once you figure out your cash conversion cycle and how much money you need, then you can plan accordingly and budget. And like I said, the breakdown's coming in the next slide. Once you figure that out, we're going to teach you how to track it and to be realistic of how much money you're willing to spend or what you should spend in order to make your revenue goals. How to plan your cash conversion cycles. Cool. So direct mail, like I said, 3 to 5 month cash conversion cycle. So if you spend money today, on average, you'll see a return on that money 3 to 5 months from now. So if I send out 1,000 pieces of mail at 40 cents per mailer, that's about 400 bucks. On a 4 week rotation, we like to send mail 1 time a week for 4 weeks. So an entire month, if I'm sending 1,000 pieces of mail, that's about $2,400 a month. This is where the cash conversion cycle comes in. So once that piece of mail gets sent out, on average, that piece of mail sits on someone's desk or in their house or in their cabinet for 30 to 45 days before the seller begins calling us. Once they call us, there's another 20 to 30 days of us negotiating, with us following up with the seller, and ultimately getting this under contract. Once the deal's under contract, we gotta sell it, right? So we gotta dispo it. If it's a wholesale deal, it takes about 30 days to close of escrow. And if you're doing a flip, your cash conversion cycle will be longer, right? The reason why is you don't get paid until the property is renovated and then the property is sold. So when you add all this time, it's about a 3 to 5 month time period when that piece of mail hits that seller's desk to you closing that deal and actually getting paid. So when you do that math, right? When you do this math, you got to plan accordingly. Because of this cash conversion cycle, that 3 to 5 month time, you need to be able to spend $2,400 a month for at least 3 to 5 months, right? So if you don't have a savings account or if you don't have a budget to survive a full cash conversion cycle, this is where you end up in a money pit, where you spend tens of thousands of dollars and your deals aren't closing in time and you're just gonna go bankrupt, right? So this is something that you really need to incorporate in your marketing plan and before you pick a marketing plan to go forward with. Now we're gonna do a deep dive of how to pick a marketing channel, how I've picked a marketing channel, right? So you need your revenue goal. So what is your monthly and quarterly revenue goal? If you don't have a revenue goal, how much money you want to make, how can you actually create a business? How can you actually make a plan? So let's say your monthly goal is 15,000 per month, and then you have a quarterly goal, which is 3 months of $45,000. That's your goal. What is your profit per deal? Okay, so obviously look at what market you're in and see what market, average per deal is. In Houston, it's about 15 to $20,000 per deal. So what does that mean? That means based off my revenue goal and based off the average deal or profit per deal, I need to close one deal per month to meet my revenue goal. Okay? This is the great starting point. Now, you got to learn how many leads it takes to get a contract, and that is a KPI. We're going to do a really, really, really in-depth video on like the fifth or sixth video in this course here to optimize your business. And KPIs is a big part, but we're going to use this right now to kind of help you plan that marketing. Next, you want to learn about how many leads it takes to get a contract, right? So that is a KPI. We're going to go super, super more in depth in the later part of the course, talking about how to optimize your business. And that means learning all the KPIs, right? But for the sake of the video, we're going to keep going. And then we're going to use direct mail because that's the last slide we talked about, right? So out of every 42 people calling you back on a direct mail campaign, one of those deals will become a contract based off the industry standard. So you want to base everything off industry standard. There's a 0.5% response rate for real estate direct mail. So based off these numbers, how many pieces of mail do you need? About 9,000 pieces, right? 9,000 pieces times 40 cents is about $3,600. Then you multiply that $3,600 by your 3 to 5 months cash conversion cycle, which is almost about $11,000. So if you don't have $11,000, you should not look into sending 9,000 pieces a month of mail, because that is, like I said before, a recipe for disaster, right? But if you guys have this money, this is a good plan of how to break down your KPIs and how to actually decide on picking a marketing channel. Next, you want to do this for every single marketing channel. I have a Excel document for you in the resources right below the video. Pull out the Excel document, put in your revenue goal, put in your budget, and it'll tell you exactly how much money you need to spend per month and how much you need in reserves to safely track your metrics. And then ultimately, the last step, you got to figure out what's best for you, man. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to a guru. Don't listen to an influencer that tells you which marketing channel you should do. You need to figure out what's best for you. All right, next we're going to talk about optimization and how to optimize whatever marketing channel you pick. So for this, I'm going to break down the three different tiers of cold calling because I think a lot of you guys are cold calling and 60% of my business still revolves around cold calling, right? So we get 60% of our deals from cold calling. So let's break it down. So this is the first step. This is tier one. Tier one is what most of you guys are doing is pulling bulk data lists. So everyone's pulling 20 to $30,000 or 20 to 30,000 records off software, right? We know all the monthly subscriptions out there. And then you got to pay for skip tracing. And then you're going to pay for VAs, most likely, because you literally cannot get through 30,000 records by yourself. And then in order to be optimized, you need a dialer system. So here's the issues, or here's the facts for bulk data. When you're pulling bulk data from these companies, the data is about 3 to 4 weeks old. So they pull the data from wherever software, MLS, courthouse data, whatever. They pull that late, they aggregate the data, and then they put it into their software. So what does that mean? By the time you call this list, this data's been out there for 3 to 4 weeks. If the data's been out there for 3 to 4 weeks, how many people have called the same sellers? And then we're all using the same softwares out there, right? So, you're competing with thousands and thousands of investors calling the same people. Number two, it costs you about $4,000 to $5,000 per month because you got to pull the data. You got to skip trace, which is about $2,000 to $3,000 at that level of skip tracing. And then you're going to pay your VAs, which is like $4 to $8 an hour. And then you're going to pay for a dollar system that's about $300 per month as well. And remember, that's $4,000 to $5,000 per month, and you want to use the cash conversion cycle. So for cold calling, it's about 4 to 6 months. So you're gonna burn through a lot of money doing this type of strategy, and also it's not really effective. Pulling bulk data and calling is like finding a needle in a haystack method. How many of you guys have cold called for 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day, get cursed out, and not get a single viable lead? I know I've done it. I've cold called hours and hours and hours to get nothing, right? So this is the risk of doing the tier one plan for cold calling, right? Which is what a lot of gurus tell you to do. Number two, we're still doing bulk data. Instead of 30,000, we're doing 10 to 15,000 records. And this is usually niche stack data where a lot of data providers will say this is our AI list. So these are more specific. This is not like bulk data. This is more like, hey, maybe you're focusing on low equity. Maybe you're focusing on expired listings. Maybe you're focused on something else, right? There's a certain niche to it. And these lists are still pretty big. You probably need a VA as well, but you don't need as many. So for a 30,000 list, you probably need 2 to 3. And on this side or this size of list, you could probably do 1 to 2, especially if you're calling, right? But you still need a dialer for this. Data is still 3 to 4 weeks old, just like the first list. Number two, it is cheaper than the first option. It's about $2,000 to $3,000 per month. And then this one is a better chance of number one because the list is just more focused, right? So you have more motivation than the first. In the first side, like I said, you're finding a needle. So like if you're calling 30,000 people and you ask, are you interested in selling? They're most likely going to say no. This is the top tier of cold calling. This is what some of the biggest players in the industry are doing. We use very niche data, and niche means courthouse county record data. We only have about 1,000 to 1,500 records per month. So think about how different that is. That is literally less than 10% of the original bulk data list that you guys are calling. We use an American caller and we use a dial system as well because it's still 1,000 records. And the reason why we have American callers, I'll kind of break it down and it might pop up on the slide here. But American callers, they're important for this, right? Because if you're calling courthouse data, every single seller you reach is probably in some sort of pain. Either it's foreclosure, Probate, right, which is when someone passed away and they're inheriting a property, or they're going through a divorce, something crazy like that. You don't want a foreign VA that doesn't understand empathy, emotions, or whatever. You want an American to reach them so they can have a real conversation, provide value, and close the deal, right? Because every single person that picks up the phone is in a distress situation. That's why we do courthouse data. Courthouse data is either brand new to 1 week old because you're pulling it from the source. You're not waiting for a data company to pull this data, aggregate it on their software. You're gonna get it live, right? Number two, it is so cheap. We spend $900 to $1,500 per month on all this stuff, on the dialer, on the courthouse data, right? We pay a data service company to do this. We used to pull it ourselves, but it's extremely time consuming. And for a W-2 employee, we just can't do it. I can't do it. I used to try to train a VA to do it, but now I just pay a company called Data Syndicate. And when you get the amount of records and you break it down by cost per lead, I'm probably paying about $500 a month in data versus the $2,000 to $3,000 of skip tracing. For the American callers, when we first started, I was calling myself along with a commission-based acquisition manager. So they would only get paid when they close a deal. Obviously, the commissions are way higher to make it like juicy for them. But now as we grow as a company, we can actually put people on salary. So that's how that kind of evolves. And last but not least, like I kind of briefly talked about before, it's a smaller list, more motivation for the seller, which equals to a higher conversion rate when you're calling these sellers. All right, the Holy Trinity. Okay, the Holy Trinity for marketing right here for us. Foreclosures, probate, and divorces. These are super, super niche, a lot of distress, a lot of motivation. We are going to smash and grab this list. We're going to hit it with multiple marketing channels because remember, this is a small list, right? So we want to maximize reach. So one, cold calling, 60% of my deals. We still do this. Emailing's absolutely crush. 24% of the deals are coming from emails. We send them email campaigns, they respond back, we get a call, we try to close. Number three, agent outreach. We still get about 10% of our deals through agent outreach. Now, obviously, this isn't a part of the courthouse data, but this is just numbers in my business. So we still do about 10% of the deals. Direct mail, we are doing about 6%. And I think I was talking to you guys about this before. We're actually slowing down our direct mail campaigns and focusing more on our emails, okay? We're putting more effort, we're putting more time into crafting good emails. We're testing different emails, different types of emails. And this is basically direct mail that's virtual. It's absolutely for free or virtually for free with a CRM, okay? Solopreneur, this is what I recommend for people. For the first 6 months, I want you guys to grind, 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 grind yourself. You guys should not be worried about hiring an acquisition manager. You guys got to learn the business, right? You guys got to save money, learn the game, and make money. Okay. You got to understand the process because when you hire someone, you have to train them. And how can you train someone if you don't understand the game? American acquisition manager, when you are ready to hire someone and you're using this type of optimization or this type of business model, you need to have Americans that understand empathy, sarcasm, and emotions, right? These people are in distress. You got to deliver value, right? And I say sarcasm because I have VAs that told me this was a deal, and the seller's like, I want to sell it to you for $1 million, and the house is worth like 150. So that's obviously not a lead, right? So Americans are definitely easier to train, and they kind of understand things a little better, right? And then you're going to train someone while you're doing the business. So when you're hiring someone, don't hire them and not call, okay? Because they need to see you in action. They need to see you cooking. They need to see you making money, right? They don't want a boss that just hires somebody and just lets them go. And then guess what? They aren't going to be successful. And then 9 out of 10 times, those same business owners are going to blame the acquisition manager for not being successful. Brother or sister, it is your fault that your team's not performing. Okay, so some action items for you guys. Number one, do some research. Look into your target county and state. See what records are publicly released, right? Because every state and every county is going to be different. Houston is my market. They have every single courthouse data pretty much that's absolutely public. So we get access to a lot of things. My old market in Louisville only did foreclosure and lease pendants, so it was really, really small and not a lot of data was easily accessible. Okay, the free 99 route. You can go to county courthouses, ask the clerks for lists, but then you got to clean the list and make sure the data is accurate, okay? It is usually not a one-stop shop that's very easy. There is some complication to it, but you guys can figure it out. And like I said, it's free, but it is time consuming. Like I said before, it takes a lot of time, right? If you're like me and work a W-2, although it's free, it takes a lot of time and time that I don't have. If this is you, you definitely got to book a call with a company called Data Syndicate. You can get a free consultation with them about your market to see what's available, to see what data is available. And then ultimately, they'll give you their recommendations if you should move forward or not. Number three, the lists are fully skip traced. So whatever you pay, the lists are skip traced with their phone numbers and emails. And then the bigger cities like Atlanta and Houston, they actually have a same day data release. So when I talk about fresh data and being the first ones to call, literally we were calling these lists and we were getting people telling us this is the first time someone's brought this up to us. So absolutely insane. And I'm going to show you a quick breakdown after this slide of how the data looks like. Number four, I want you to take a list, whatever list you do, and I want you to call 100 sellers. Once you call 100 sellers, you're going to learn how this business works. You're going to learn how to talk to people. Okay. And then the next video is our sales academy or our closer academy, where I give you the sales framework. I give you my scripts. We walk through the entire process and how to quickly screen people and also close them on the deal. Okay. So don't worry, we're going to cover the sales process next. But first, I want to show you this data here. Okay. So this is the data from Houston. This is from Data Syndicate. And I'm going to show you almost every single day, December 31st, January 3rd, January 6th, January 7th, January 8th. I get data almost every single day. And here's what the data looks like. It tells you that it's a lease pendants, it's a probate, property address, the name. I'm not going to show you the phone numbers or anything like that, but it also gives you phone numbers, emails, and what type of lead it is. And then the same thing for, let's say, January 14th, same thing, foreclosures, divorces, probates. And then for foreclosures, I copy these and I actually move it into my email campaign in my CRM here. So literally right now, I just sent something out this morning. We have 108 people waiting to be dripped. 107 people saw the first email. And then we wait one day and we send the next email. We wait one day, we send another email. So everything could be fully automated for the email campaigns while my team is cold calling these sellers. So we're hitting them with multiple channels, okay? So it's absolutely nuts. And then if you look at our dashboard for this month, we have a ton of deals in the pipeline. We have 24 deals in the last 31 days. We're projected profits of 84,000, and we've already closed on 15,000 worth of deals. Okay. So this is very effective. It's very niche. It works. So definitely want you guys to book a call with them. Last but not least, let's have fun and get to work. Take the document down below, get the tracker, start doing some math with your marketing. And I want to hear from you guys what type of marketing channels you guys are doing and what's going to be your plan moving forward. In the next video, we're going to be doing the Closer Academy. So let's get you ready to close these deals after you generate some leads. We'll see you later.